This program is brought to you by Naleo TV.
Aloha! Welcome to tonight's candidate forum for Hawai'i County Mayor. I'm Sherry Brack, and I'm with Lava 105 and Koa Country Radio, and also Big Island Video News, formerly with Hawaii Public Radio, and I'll be your moderator tonight. Thanks to all of you for being here and being interested in our county's election process. Our sponsoring organizations are Konokohala Chamber of Commerce and Community Enterprises. The office under discussion tonight is Hawai'i County Mayor. The mayor is the chief executive of this county and responsible for all the day-to-day operations of the county, presenting a budget, getting it approved by county council, managing the projects, getting the daily work done. The county council is the legislative or lawmaking branch. The mayor will be responsible for appointing the directors for all the departments, and the directors, of course, are then subject to confirmation by the county council. The forum organizers, Konokohala Chamber of Commerce and Community Enterprises, have invited 8 of the 13 candidates to be with us tonight. The questions we're going to ask are a combination of questions submitted by the members of both organizations, community members directly, and some questions submitted through the website for Community Enterprises. And they range from things that are as local as parking for Kailua Village to very global like climate change. I'd like to now thank our candidates for your commitment to public service, because just the fact that you're running for office is really awesome, because that is one of the beauties of the democracy in which we live. And I'd like to thank you also for being here. And I want to remind you, they have material along the windows down there and over there. Now I'm going to introduce the candidates, and please remind you, hold all applause until I give you the signal. So, and these bios were submitted by the candidates. Mr. Bryant, please stand up so we can see who you are. Paul Bryant is a Big Island resident since 1990 after 30 years working in Asia as an art critic and journalist. He established a sheep ranch, started a fine arts gallery, has taught at university and high school, is active in local school issues and Waimea Arts Council and Friends of the Library, and he was a candidate for Board of Education in 2008. Today, he's an art critic and author. Dr. Marlene Hapai, a biology professor and regent emeritus of the University of Hawaii and a native of Honoka'a, brings a strong administrative, scientific, business, and community organization background to the office of mayor. She's lived in Puako, Kohala, Honoka'a, Hilo, and Curtistown, and says she understands the strengths and challenges of Hawaii's many communities, including necessary infrastructure to ensure health and safety. Pete Hoffman is a 28-year Army combat veteran, was the Kohala councilman for 4 terms with 2 years as council chair. He was on the board for West Hawaii Community Health Center, Community Enterprises, and Kamwela Philharmonic. He served on the University of Hawaii Board of Regents. He's a substitute teacher, plays kupuna softball, and is involved in a number of other community activities. Harry Kim is the youngest son of Korean immigrants and was raised in the plantation lifestyle of Ola'a. He has a master's in economics from Southern Oregon State University, is a U.S. Army veteran medic, served as civil defense administrator for 24 years, and was mayor for 2 terms. He's been invited as a natural disaster response advisor to various countries, the United Nations, and the National Academy of Sciences. Kailua Kona resident Wally Lau was raised in a large family on Oahu that instilled the important values of respect, fairness, humility, and aloha. He is an experienced leader. He educated Hawaii Island youth with Kamehameha schools and the Salvation Army, built stronger families through the neighborhood place of Kona, and served for 7 years alongside Mayor Billy Kanoy as managing director of the county, getting things done for our island. Shannon K. McCandless is a resident of Waimea and a graduate of Kamehameha School's Kapalama. She has a bachelor's degree in Hawaiian Studies and a master's degree in Public Administration from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Shannon has worked in the driver's license division for the county, and she's been with the county for more than 6.5 years, and says she knows firsthand that change is needed to ensure a successful future. Timothy Waugh, former corrections officer, business owner, currently a full-time minister, high school peer counselor for Awareness House and the Boys Club of Hilo, former preschool teacher at Head Start Pi'i Honua and Hi'ilei Daycare for the Hawai'i County Economic Opportunity Council, currently a pastor, life coach, and counselor. He also provides services to children with special needs at Joyland Preschool, which he founded in 2005. Eric Drake Weiner Jr. says he has the solution to rapid ohia death, coffee berry borers, and local organic food production. Drake shares the vision and leadership to transition Hawai'i County into the premier ecotourism health destination, creating a Pono future for residents young and old. Ecology and economy represent the foundation of Drake's commitment to serving the people of Hawaii. Let's give a warm Hawaii Island welcome to all these candidates. Our timing tonight is about the most critical thing. Being moderator is one thing, but without timing doesn't work. And our timers today are Georgine Bush and Susan Maddox. And regarding timing, the speakers will be informed in advance how much time they have for a question. They will get a yellow light and a yellow card at 15 seconds, and when their time is up, their time is up. And I've let them know that I will cut them off because that's the only way to be fair. So candidates, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Eric Drake Weiner Jr., we are beginning with you. We want to ask about your key qualifications and accomplishments to be mayor of Hawai'i County, but as somebody who is not known to have held office nor had a position leading an organization like the county, which has a $463 million budget and around more than 2,500 employees, please be specific as to your qualifications and accomplishments that would make you reasonably equipped to hold the office of mayor. And this is a 90-second question.
Mahalo, thank you for inviting me here, and thanks for allowing me to go first and with such an important question. My name is Eric Drake Weiner, and my qualifications for mayor are that I have, despite being young, I have been mentored by some very, very esteemed people throughout the community. Managing money, my dad is a CPA, and so from a young age, he's taught me how to balance books, how to manage a budget, how to run a spreadsheet. During my high school years, I was in JROTC, and I worked my way up from being a cadet private all the way to being a cadet colonel and being in charge of the entire East Hawaii Brigade. So managing my entire staff, which is very similar to an executive office of the mayor, where you have cabinet members and department heads to run things. And so I know how to delegate authority and bring that out. And really what I want to bring to the county is the leadership. I think this past administration has done a wonderful job, and I would like to keep continuity by enabling those folks to continue to do what they're doing, and as the mayor, just to set some leadership towards an ecological and ecotourism friendly health zone for all of us to enjoy. Mahalo.
Thank you. Mr. Waugh, you also, to my knowledge, have not held office, so talk about what your accomplishments and qualifications are to lead this county. 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm Timothy Waugh. I grew up in Lanakila housing, so it's been an interesting life so far. I started a business at 17, 18, and I began the journey of trying to chase the American dream and the dollar. Venturing off into that, I also basically went into ministry, which wasn't the brightest move in my entire life, but it has bore a lot of fruit. So what I do is, in a nonprofit setting, you always have to stretch. You always have to scrape by. You always have to stretch the dollar. So we have accomplished the unthinkable. We have educated so many children that have fallen through the cracks. Joyland Preschool exists now as a part of my ministry. We are the only SPED preschool, to our knowledge, on the Big Island. We have partnerships with the DOE and also with Easter Seals. That lends itself to us, especially myself, understanding how to make things work. You have to always, always be mindful of people. My entire life has been about people. 33 years as a athletics coach in Hilo as well. Some of you recognize me, or my last name is our family has been entrenched in a lot of sports. My mother was a county clerk, I guess the secretary of the Hawai'i County Council for years and years. So we have a good working knowledge. I understand how this all works. We are ready to go and get the things needed to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McCandless, you also have not held office, so please help us understand what makes you qualified to hold the office of mayor.
Aloha, I'm Shannon McCandless. Thank you for having me here tonight. So for me, running for mayor comes from a different perspective. I work for the county. I've been in the county for 6.5 years. I have my degree. So my degree is in public administration. And with that, it comes from an ivory tower, an idea of how things should operate. But I was fortunate. I got in at the bottom. I started off as a clerk, and I worked my way up to what I am now, the supervising driver's license examiner. With that, I've seen a lot. I've been able to work from the bottom, understand the job, work with the community, be a part of the community, and then continue to grow and understand the administrative side of it. Currently, as a supervising driver's license examiner, I'm responsible for overseeing, managing my division, making my budget, which I operate, which is $1.4 million annual budget, and seeing how the overall system works, best practices, what doesn't. Having to deal with daily operations, the bureaucracy, but also servicing the communities, hearing the needs, and trying best to put the two together. For me, running for Hawai'i County Mayor means that I have a responsibility, especially because I went to school and I was fortunate enough to, and I was supported by so many other people to do what is right, to give ourselves an option, and to bring our community into a new era. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lau, you have been Deputy Managing Director after being Deputy Managing Director, so you actually have been responsible for some of the things we're talking about, but help us understand what qualifications and accomplishments you can speak to make you worthy to be our mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Aloha. I think first and foremost, what makes me qualified is that I've dedicated my life to public service. And secondly, having the opportunity to work alongside Mayor Billy Kinoy for the past 7 years has thrown me into situations where you have to be real quick on your feet. You have to respond to understand the daily operations of county government, such as in West Hawaii here, being in charge of and developing the West Hawaii Civic Center from ground up, pulling that whole project together on a timely basis and on time and on budget, to the mid-level road that we all enjoy. Again, thrust into a situation where you have to work together within the county as well as partners outside of the county to achieve a common goal in a timely way, in a timely fashion. The managing director is basically the person that pulls the county staff, cabinet members all together to achieve a common goal, to stay within budget, to assure the community that our interest is only for their interest alone, to make sure that we all can work together as a family, as one island and as one family, to assure the community that we have their best interests in mind at all times.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, you have been mayor of the county, and here you are. So talk about why you want to run for mayor again and what you accomplished in any of the jobs to make you worthy to be our mayor again, please. 90 seconds.
Back when I ran thank you very much, ran the first time, that question was asked in regards to why I was running. I find it ironic, it's almost exactly the same thing. At that time, there were a lot of criticisms or concerns about the trust of our government. It seems to be a standing affair. And I went basically on that because I was your civil defense administrator for 24 years. And one thing I learned about that job is that if you do not have the trust of the people that you are leading, which includes the federal, state, and county, and the private people, but especially the community, you're not going to be able to do your job. The second part in regards to after finishing 2 terms, and hopefully we did a good job in regard to earning your trust, and that's something you have to do. You have to earn your trust. In regards to running for mayor the 3rd time, that was a very difficult and hard decision to make, to come back and run. I think some of you may know that I put into writing exactly why I was running. I met a gentleman, and I won't mention his name, he's sitting out there, and when he asked me why I was running, and I said because of Act 55, 97, and a community development plan process. And he said to me, you know, that's not warm and fuzzy. It's not warm and fuzzy why I'm running now. I think we have to build up on a trust again. And I feel that in regards to home rule is a major issue of those acts. You know, we sway from it.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Now, before we started, I did tell the candidates I would do that, and Harry informed me that I've already done this to him at least 5 times in the past. So apparently he likes it. Mr. Hoffman, 90 seconds. Now, you have been chair of Hawai'i County Council. You served as a council member for 8 years, chair for 2 years. But you have not been mayor and not really run the county. So talk about what in your background, what in your accomplishments will make you the mayor, the good mayor.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you to the Kona Kahala Chamber and Community Enterprises for having this forum. My qualifications as mayor, I think, stem from the 28 years combat veteran. I retired in the rank of colonel. I learned my leadership skills, the importance of good organization, and the ability to choose the best possible people to do the job at hand. Serving in an international environment, I also worked with a number of people from different backgrounds and cultures, and I was able to develop negotiation and mediation skills that I think continue to help me be a successful leader here in Hawaii. When we came here, my wife and I, we used those skills in the public sector, and we tried to join different activities and participate in different organizations. My council experience, and being 2 years as chair of the council, provided me an excellent insight and knowledge of county affairs. Serving on a number of boards of directors since that time, as well as regent for the University of Hawaii, I think I have the skills in order to make the proper decisions at the right time in the right place. As your mayor, I can do better than the previous 2 administrations. I bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to the office of mayor, coupled with unquestioned integrity, the ability to make certain that we make decisions listening to all sides of the question, and the willingness to promote open government. In restoring trust in government.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Ms. Hapai, to my knowledge, you have not held elective office, but you have had some experience leading at the university level. So talk to us about your accomplishments, your qualifications to be mayor of Hawai'i County, please. 90 seconds.
Aloha. I think I offer a very diversified background that will be beneficial to this island. Not only having been born and raised in Honokaa and living in 4 of the districts that are on this island, but I have a very strong administrative background, both in government and small business. Government, I was program chair, division chair in the natural sciences, assistant director of Napua Noiao. I was associate dean for the College of Agriculture and Human Resources, and also a member of the Board of Regents that handled a budget of more than $1 billion and also managed 10 different campuses. And on the small business side, we have our Andrade building in Honokaa that I manage today. Also, my background in the sciences will be very helpful to this island because of all the emergency situations we have to respond to. And then I've been very active in community involvement, president of many organizations. You can read my little card that I have on the table, and have been very successful in getting government, business, and community organizations to work together. And to me, that's what it's going to take to have this county be successful in the future. Collaboration, not competition. Inter-island, as well as throughout government at all levels.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, again, I don't believe you've held elective office, so tell us about yourself, your accomplishments, your qualifications to be mayor. 90 seconds.
Thank you. In my years abroad, I spent more than 30 years in Japan, where I organized a number of exhibitions and charity shows. When we learned that some of the people here have organized or run offices that are in excess of $1 million, I think, well, gee, I'm right there too, because my charity shows in Tokyo, the first one that they've ever had in Tokyo actually, brought in over $1 million for the handicapped. which was not a easy sell at that particular time. I'm kind of feeling that one of the things that everybody is overlooking is the fact that there are a lot of aspects of daily life that each one of us has in store in experience themselves. And these experiences themselves are almost better than book learning, in my opinion. I have 30 years of international work and study, and now I have 27 years here in the islands doing a little bit of everything, frankly, from ranching and farming to running a small business. So I kind of feel that those experiences are going to help me find the right people to help run the government in the proper way. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the people who sent in a question through the website had a very simple question, and I'm technically going to give you 30 seconds, but I assume it'll take you about 10 seconds to ask, which is, and you're going to start, Mr. Weiner, what do you think the most important issue is for Hawaii Island? And we clearly understand that this is not an easy question to answer, but it sounded like an intriguing question that came in through the website. So, Eric Drake Weiner Jr., what do you think is the most important issue for Hawaii Island?
The most important issue, I think, in Hawaii Island is continuing to make Hawai'i County a livable place so that our families and children can make a great living here, that we can respect our ecology, that we can have a great economy, and that we don't feel like our future generations have to move away to go and make it in the world, that we can be right here and earn a great living.
Thank you. Mr. Wah, most important issue.
I think the most important issue that's pressing Hawai'i County right now is the length of time it takes to get a building permit. It's utterly ridiculous because there's a lot of counties out in the nation. You can get a building permit the same day you submit for a building permit.
Thank you. Ms. McCandless, most important issue.
The most important issue for Hawai'i County is actually sustainability. So it's not just about creating more agriculture, but it's sustaining our current communities. The reasons why many of us live here, why so many people move to Hawaii Island, is because of its beauty, because of its unique environment and community. And we need to be able to sustain these things, not just for now, but for the future as well. Thank you.
Mr. Lau, most important issue.
The most important issue is to sustain our economy, moving it forward, which equates to meaningful jobs, which equates to healthy families, which equates then to healthy communities along the way. So it's finding the opportunities for more jobs in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Kim.
I said this back in mid-'80s. I think the biggest problem facing us then is the same as today. We developed a lifestyle here of the government, of economics, of everything that's making it very, very difficult for people to live here. The gap between the have and the have-nots it has become a very serious homeless issue now. This morning's paper said 50% near are having a hard time. That's got to be the biggest problem.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, biggest issue.
Biggest issue, in my opinion, is that there are too many people on this island who live at or below the federal poverty level. Until we address poverty, regardless of what else we do, no matter how well-intentioned, it's going to have very little value. Until we address the idea that too few people have enough to eat and too many people are not being housed in proper quarters, I don't think we're doing the job we're supposed to do as a community and an island. In my opinion, we have to address these issues now.
Ms. Hapai.
To me, the biggest issue is our health and safety infrastructure. Hawaii being known as the #1 county in the nation for the number of natural hazards that can occur at any time, we are not prepared. And to me, this is something we really need to work on. And that is something I would have a major focus. And I've done some work in that area already, and I feel it's very important.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, biggest issue.
I have to agree with former Mayor Kim and Council Member, sorry, gone right out of
Hoffman.
my head there.
Pete Hoffman.
Pete, I apologize. It is poverty, and we have untold numbers of people that worry about their housing and their food for their table. We have more than 40% of our people on this island use EBT or the food stamps. This is unconscionable in an island that should be producing its own food rates.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question will go to Mr. Hoffman. First, it is a 90-second question, and it has to do with budget. The current operating budget is $463 million. If elected mayor, you will submit a new budget 4 months after taking office. And we'd like to understand your general budget philosophy, what kind of increases or decreases we might expect to see under your administration, and why. Mr. Hoffman, you have 90 seconds.
First of all, my budget philosophy is to remind myself that that money is not mine to spend. It's yours as taxpayers. All too often, I think our government decides that once they receive the money or can accumulate it, they have to spend it. I don't conceive it in that way. In the time that I spent doing budget work on Capitol Hill for the Department of Defense, it was very clear that we had certain constraints, and we have to apply those constraints to the county budget as well. I would institute a complete budget review as a start in order to understand why we're at the stage that we are. When I left the county council, we had a budget of about $370 million. We now have a budget of $464 million. That's only an increase of almost $100 million in 4 years. Clearly, a lot of that has to do with personnel cost. I understand that, and I'm not trying to make any argument against that. But what I think is very clear that we have to remember, the budget is an economic and a very dynamic tool for effective management of our county government. We're not doing the job that we need to do in order to make sure that we use that tool properly. In my opinion, frequent budget reviews are required during the year. And I would go back to the county council on many occasions if I have to, in order to review that document as a dynamic instrument of effective government for this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Kim, talk about your budget philosophy.
I think that's one of the major concerns I have in regards to what has been happening, and I'll just say it up front. I do not know how many of us, because I did not know about it until I started to read the auditor's report. I think some of you may know it, but your county taxes were raised 3 times in the past 5 years. That goes against everything of principle, what I believe that you should be very prudent in regards to your spending and very, very prudent in regards to your collection. I think many of you are going to be quite stunned when you see the direct rates average of your island in regards to paying your property taxes, which now equates to over half of the revenues that the county depends on. The budget philosophy is very simple. Be very prudent in regards to how you spend, and be very prudent in regards to how you collected money.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Ms. Hapai, you'll have a $463 million budget to start, but only 4 months to develop a new one. Talk about your budget philosophy.
Well, first of all, if elected, the first thing I do is start looking at that, and actually have already done so. My philosophy, of course, is as the mayor, it's our responsibility to go in and, reassess the budget. And as I've done in other situations, I generally have sit down with my department chairs and ask, what have you done that you're happy with? What are your challenges? But also, besides getting their input, which is very important, is to take into consideration the needs of each community. The beauty of Hawai'i County is many of the districts have developed community development plans, and there are actions associated with those plans. And I think this is time to put some meat into the actions, because each community knows what they want, but we don't have people in place to help. So, of course, that costs money. And what I would do is to look for new resources via grants, via community, business, nonprofit partnerships. There are other resources out there that we can use to fund things that are needed to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lau, when you take over the county as mayor, $463 million budget, talk about your philosophy and the kinds of increases or decreases we should expect to see. 90 seconds.
My philosophy is very simple. Stay within your means. That's what we were brought up with as a family. You only have so much money, stay within that. As far as the county budget is concerned, I think taking a look at revenues, certainly we get most of it from our property tax, but we need to do a better job in making sure we collect the fees that the county is due. We also got to take a look at maybe increasing some of those fees along the way. Take a look at our property tax, making sure we're closing some of the loopholes that people are using to not pay their fair share. I'm not one right now intending to raise the property tax along the way. I think when we expend things, we need to make sure that is that nice or is it needed? We need to prioritize along the way. I would work with the community, with the county councils from their district to take a look at some of the projects that we feel that, and we can come to agreement on, that is very, very important to that community. And then look at where we have the monies to work on that. So again, it's working with your Department of Finance personnel, looking at balancing the budget, but it's basically, again, making sure that we honor the needs of the community by watching what we do and how we do things in using your money.
Mr. Bryant, if you're elected mayor, talk about your budget philosophy and whether we can expect to see increases, decreases, or what. 90 seconds.
Thank you. Right off the bat, I have to admit that a $400 and some odd million budget is going to require me to get some expertise on my side. I have not the experience to do it, but I would find someone that could help me understand the budget as it stands now and how I would develop a new budget. The CDP is one thing that everybody talks about, often talks about, but there are other things. The infrastructure of this island is in sad condition in many places, and I think infrastructure is one of the things that we should focus on. The way that the police are undermanned is another thing. There are so many aspects of our county that need adjustment, and whether they are part of the future budget and how they're part of the future budget is really where I'm going to focus. So that's my take on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you much. Mr. Waugh, $463 million budget. Talk about your philosophy and potential increases or decreases.
Well, like many of the candidates have said, we need to live within our means. The basic philosophy of government is you tax and spend. What's been happening is they've been spending, then taxing. When that happens, you start saddling all of the generations in the future with that debt. What's going to happen in the first year of this administration, whoever it is, there are going to be projects that are going to be stuck. You're going to have to get through those things, and you're going to have to migrate yourself through those things. But then you're going to have to start taking a hard look at how you're going to start using future funds. My philosophy is always streamline government. You see in different departments a lot of people sitting around, and then in other departments you see a long line, which is unnecessary if you just shuffle the personnel. The other thing is we just need to understand as a county, if we're going to start leveraging money out in the future, we need to focus on legacy projects that last at least 3, 4, 5 generations into the future. West Hawaii should have its own convention center by this time. This has been too many years. Hilo has antiquated facilities. All of the gyms are termite-ridden. They're falling apart, paint's peeling everywhere. We need to start focusing and taking care and being greater stewards of the things that we already own. I think that's my basic budget philosophy.
Thank you. Mr. Weiner.
Mahalo. I know the budget is one of the most important parts of the mayor. And so as a candidate here, one of my primary promises is not to raise taxes the first year or in looking into the future. And so a way to cover the budget shortfalls for all the projects that we do need to accomplish is to bring in outside dollars. So through ecotourism and bringing in money from outside. I know just recently the state has taken a lot of the county's money that they earn through tourism. And so fixing that issue so that when we bring in outside dollars, we can have them here. I know another issue that's huge that's coming up for us on Hilo's side is that our landfill is almost at capacity. And that's gonna require a huge amount of cost. So working with people, so that residents, so that we can understand recycling, so we can put less waste into our landfill. Working with people so we can start to grow more of our own food here on the island, so we don't have to deal with all the packaging that comes across the ocean here for simple and basic things. Mahalo.
Thank you. Ms. McCandless.
As your mayor, I need to be upfront with you. So your upcoming budget, fiscal budget for 2016, 2017, we are going to be looking at a 5.51% increase in operating budget. We're going to be upfront about that right now. What we're going to be looking at as far as the county. For me, I look at it like this. Because I'm part of the driver's license divisions, just like Mr. Wall said, I am one of those lines that people stay out there and you wait. It's us, it's motor vehicle registration, it's like building permit, where it takes forever. What does that translate out to? That translates out to opportunity costs. What could you be doing with your time instead of taking off of work, waiting in line, trying to do your simple procedure, and you're losing money? Money now that takes food out of your kid's pocket, off the table, maybe out of your rent or your mortgage. There's things that you can be doing, we can be doing as the county. We need to not just be spending wisely and looking at what it is that our community needs and how we're currently operating, but honestly, we're operating top heavy. We have so many people in appointed positions right now. Yes, we need some of them, but there's other ones that we can get rid of. Other things that we can reappropriate these positions to better use and serve our communities, how they should be served, where they should be served. So that way, we are truly serving the communities. We are truly civil servants. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to do a 30-second follow-up with you, Ms. McCandless. You mentioned that you're responsible for the driver's license operations. And of course, you're aware that there are numerous complaints about the West Hawaii Civic Center driver's license and vehicle and trailer registration system, where people are waiting in lengthy lines. Sometimes the complaints are that the staff doesn't understand the system, they don't understand the rules, they have a lack of empathy, sometimes downright rudeness. And I know that the supervisor position was specifically moved from Hilo to Kona to address these issues, and you're in charge of it. You've had nearly a year to fix the problem, so give us an idea of what you've already done to change that situation at West Hawaii Civic Center relative to driver's license and registration. Only 30 seconds, because I just want to know what you've already done to give us an idea of how you would fix problems in the future.
So actually, I'm the supervising driver's license examiner, and I've taken over as being the supervisor for the office that oversees motor vehicle registration as well. That was the first thing that needed to be done because there has been no supervision in that office ever for years. So one, that's the first thing. Two, it's creating a cohesive unit. We're actually, under the finance, vehicle registration, and licensing, the division has operated completely autonomously of each other all this time up until recently. Change has taken work, but we have been working to progress to get better.
Thank you. The next question is we're still on budget. We're going to be on budget for another couple questions. Mr. Wah, you're going to go first in this. And all of you mentioned, or most of you mentioned personnel. Between 2000 and 2008, during that 8-year time, nearly 600 people were added to the payroll with an average loaded per person cost of $50,000. That added alone around $30 million per year to the budget. Today we have fewer employees than in 2008, but we'd like to understand what kind of personnel increases or decreases you would plan, since adding personnel adds a permanent cost, and it also increases our long-term liabilities, which has been a big issue. And this is a 60-second question. So, Mr. Wah, give us your thoughts. Adding people, taking away people.
I think the basic bottom line answer is that the union will never allow you to take personnel away. So you're going to have to live with that for now. So what you're going to have to do is make the most of what personnel you have. Like I said earlier, reshuffling people, moving them where they're needed and not where they think they're wanted. I know, just based on my mom working for the county, I would go see my mom, 7:45 she starts work, 8 o'clock is her first coffee break. Funny, yeah. And then about 9:30, second coffee break. So my question is, why? Why don't we maximize people? Why don't we put them where they're needed? Again, these unions, I'll tell you right now, I was a union member, so I understand that they're going to fight for the working class. But here's the thing, we need to maximize effort out of each and every person that is hired by the county government.
Mr. Hoffman, you're next. And I do just want to emphasize that there are fewer employees today than in 2008. So in the last 8 years, the employee count in the county has gone down. And we're interested in what your plans are relative to personnel, since personnel definitely equate to money that comes from our property taxes and our rent. 60 seconds.
I think some of the figures that we're talking about as far as personnel may also have to include the number of special assistants and contractors that don't factor into union payrolls at all. I think what's necessary is some of the work that we do may not be necessary anymore. And we need to see whether the reports that we thought were important 10 years ago are still important today. And if they're not, then those people have to, as a number of candidates have already suggested, be moved to other positions within the county where additional work is required. I do think that one of the first things that I would do as mayor is to make certain a top-to-bottom review of where we are with personnel and what we consider important, and make certain that the people that we do have on the job are suited for the job, are trained to do the job that they're hired to do, and are effective employees of the county. By doing that, I think we'll minimize cost over the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McCandless, personnel adds or decreases?
Personnel adds, I actually think that we need to add another grant position. We need a grant writer who's going to get us money so that we are not taxing our people. We need somebody who's helping us find alternative methods to gain revenue for our county. Going after grants is one form of doing so. It's a specialized position that I don't necessarily think can be found solely in the county, and it is a position that I definitely think that we need to seek out. As far as the current positions that exist in the county, I do think that there are some positions that need to be diversified or reallocated. However, it's not so easy to be able to do that. Most positions within the county are specialized in nature and the knowledge in which the clerks learn, or examiners, or whatever position they're in, analysts, accountants, etc. It's something that we need to take a look at, but we need to add a grant writing position.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, talk about what you see as necessary for personnel adds or decreases, understanding the cost to the county, meaning the cost to us when you add people. 60 seconds.
I appreciate that you opened the door on the 2000-2008 increase in county employees. If I'm not mistaken, those were Mary Kim's years. We need to think about that because Mayor Kim's coming back to saying he can fix things. Well, he didn't fix them very well in 2000-2008. So let's pay attention a little bit to the fact that we do have unions here, and unions are very important to control the situation per se from their perspective. But reassigning people is one of the answers. And you can reassign people to jobs that they are not going to like, and maybe they will leave. That's a possibility too. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth of the matter. If you're loved by your coworkers, that's one thing. But if you're not loved by your coworkers, you're heading out the door. That's what's going to happen. So take that.
Thank you. Mr. Weiner, talk about personnel increases, decreases that you would anticipate, please.
So I know one of the major things about hiring someone at the county is a lot of the county budget is allocated now towards retirement funds and such. So the decision to hire someone into the county is a very big decision and has to be very well thought about beforehand. At the same time, we have to address the needs of the people and the services the county offers. So balancing that in the correct way, I believe the department heads and those people have a great idea of what to do. And with my leadership to support them in their decisions to make what they feel that needs to be done is the way I would approach this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hawai'i, 60 seconds. You've sort of gone through this at the university level, but talk about, as county mayor, what kind of personnel increases or decreases you would anticipate.
Okay, I did take a look at the budget and realized, just like Eric did, 20% of the budget is allocated for health funds and retirement benefits, and that's a lot. And so I think as we go forward, there are different ways of reducing your staff, and some of it is just through attrition and retirements, and that would be something we could look at so people don't have to lose their jobs. But on the other hand, how do we address other services? And that's how, through public-private partnerships, I've seen Palama Nui, what a wonderful example. Schwab gave the money for the building, the state put in the infrastructure, and the county put in the park. Beautiful example. And and grant writing, and what I would like to see is department heads that have some experience so that at least they can orchestrate the process and we don't have to hire consultants to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lau, personnel increases or decreases?
You know, the county is just one family. And so therefore, my attitude towards that is that instead of only having your department, departments can share bodies. They can share plumbers. They can share electricians. They can share carpenters with each other. We don't need more carpenters. We just got to learn how to share. And that's what I witnessed the 7 years, is that the atmosphere, the culture of working together within departments, within the cabinet, so that we don't have to always bring in new positions. I think the other thing that we need to also take a look at, and we have, is to continue to look where technology can be used instead of a warm body along the way. But you know, the other side, the population is 196,000. We got to be very careful to make sure that we provide public safety.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, clearly this question goes back to your administration, because between 2000 and 2008, nearly 600 people were added to the payroll. The budget jumped from 375, it went from 175 million to 403 million, 230% increase between 2000 and 2008. So clearly the concern is, if you're going to be mayor again, is that the kind of personnel increase that we could see? Is that kind of budget increase we could see? 60 seconds, please.
I wish I had more time to answer that question, because the question, insinuations of that is very, very unfair. I ask all of you, there's a yellow piece of paper out there, looks like this, that will tell you about your tax rates. In regards to personnel, do you know that almost 300 of that was police and fire, because the previous administration, because of such a tight economy, would not allow any kind of hiring or promotion for about 3 years. Naturally, there's a lot of catch-up to do. Go look at the figures. 300 of them were police and fire. They were so far back. In regards to the total figure, that is so unfair in regards to the numbers game. Count the people on contract as a total. We did not create positions. They were there that had to be filled. I want you to take a look at tax. We cut taxes. Take a look at what the tax rates for you are today in comparison to what it was when we were there.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Okay, we're going to still talk about budget, but a different kind of budget, and that is the capital budget. The operating budget is the day-to-day operating budget, but then you have the capital improvement budget, and that's what pays for projects like parks and roads and West Hawaii Civic Center and such things. And this is going to be a 60-second question going to Ms. Hapai first. In the last 8 years, the county will have spent around $600 million for capital improvement projects to build those kinds of infrastructure things I just mentioned. And this was in all districts around the island. What specific major projects are you thinking about, if you think any are needed at this point? 60 seconds, please, Ms. Hapai.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, health and safety is a primary concern of mine, because, well, I look out the window and I see Kilauea. And we've had a lava flow almost reach Pahoa town. So it's right in our backyards, literally. So what would I do? Well, for one thing, working with civil defense very closely these last 4 years on emergency preparedness fairs, what we found was that only 35,000 people on this island can be serviced at any time in an emergency facility. And as Sherry mentioned, we're up to 196,000. So I'd like to see more infrastructure. I'd like to see buildings for emergency purposes possibly put in our parks. And just to get us so that we have a place to go or have an idea, a better idea what to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, what specific capital project are you thinking of if you get elected mayor?
I have to say that taking on the county would be a problem in as much as we are now expending a lot of time and money taking care of former capital projects that have been misused and abused over the time. I'm a member of the Waimea Arts Council, and our building is basically falling down as the county watches. And we've had repeated requests to have that repair done, and they say, yes, we're going to do that, and then 2 months later, no, we can't do that. So I'm afraid that the situation is we have to deal with the things that we have rather than adding more onto it until we catch up with the things that are ill-served at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Weiner, what are you thinking about relative to the need for new capital improvement projects? 60 seconds, please.
New capital improvement projects here, they're vast of what we need in terms of infrastructure. I've heard about the bottleneck here in Kona, where everyone's trying to get home at night and get stuck in traffic. So that you have numerous options for that, improving the roads themselves and or improving public transportation so that we all have ways to get where we need to be, where we need to be. Working in terms of capital improvement is involving public-private partnerships to help improve upon the infrastructure that we already have that needs repair, as has been mentioned, is very vital as well. And empowering people in the community to get involved so that if you want to improve something, you can.
Thank you very much. Mr. Waugh, you have the microphone in front of you. Why don't you go next?
I think capital improvement projects, we need to expand the police and fire presence out in these rural areas like Ocean View, Nalehu, up in Mountain View. The response time has been very, very sad. We're losing a lot of people. We need to get that done. We also need to streamline the bidding process for a lot of these projects. We need to get all of the people that are interested in bidding a project in the same room and auction out the bidding. These sealed bid projects are starting to smell of corruption. People are calling their friends, telling them what the lowest bid was, try and beat that. We need to get all of them in the same room, and we need to really watch, as far as capital improvement projects, we need to watch change orders, because that's what's costing a lot of money that could be better utilized in other things that the county really needs.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, what are you thinking about relative to specific capital improvement projects if you become mayor?
I wonder whether many of you understand that for the last 18 years, the county's been dumping partially treated and untreated wastewater into a hole here in Kona. Now, there's a number of ways that the county has tried to attend to this problem, but the problem still exists. And until we attend to that issue, with the USGS already telling us that our nearshore waters in Honokaha Harbor are already impaired, I think we have a serious problem on our hands. Think of the impact that that has for development in this area, if nothing else. Now, there's a simple solution to that, at least to stop the pollution, and that is containerized treatment. But that's looking at a long-range plan. And you talk to the county, and they have plans for this, but still the pollution continues. The same thing is true of looking at the Hilo facility as well. We do have leaching going on into the ocean, and we must attend to that on a long-range basis.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Kim, what are you thinking about relative to specific capital improvement projects if you become mayor again?
I can tell you what the priorities has to be in regards to CIPs. First of all, that will be wastewater and solid waste. But we all need to know that we borrowed a lot of money in the past few years, a lot of money. And the first thing we have to do is evaluate, because all CIPs basically, except for small amount things, are paid out of bond money. Any bond money obviously has to meet certain type of criteria as to how much do you want this county to borrow. And we are at that maximum. So for a while, it's just going to be an evaluation in regards to the financial situation here. Take a look at the priorities, which I have stated, of solid waste and wastewater, especially of the solid waste because we're near capacity because of the Hilo landfill. It's not going to be an easy thing to address. Money is a major issue in regards to addressing that problems. Please remember, CIPs are bond monies.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. A real brief follow-up. You said that you believe that we are at the maximum amount we can borrow, but County Finance told me we are not, that we are underneath it. So do you have some different information than Hawaii County Department of Finance? 15 seconds.
Absolutely, and I think all of you are being asked to take a good look at that because a lot of information are not absolutely accurate in regards to being fed to you. We are near maximum in regards to the percentage that is recommended by GASB in regards to how much we should borrow based on our revenues.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. McCandless, talk about specific capital improvement projects that you would propose.
Capital improvement projects that we definitely need to address is our wastewater, it's our infrastructure, it's our landfill, and really it all ends up addressing into what is the big problem that we're facing. It all leads into affordability and the big problem, homelessness. If we're not addressing these issues, it all links up together. They're not independent of each other. They're all interconnected, and it all affects our communities. Landfills, right now, Hilo is full. They're starting to truck it over to Pu'uanahulu, to the Pu'uwawa. What does landfills do? It gets into our water table. Water is one thing that us as humans cannot live without. We need to address that. Same thing with wastewater. Not only does it have to do with our water, it has to do with our marine resources. And lastly, infrastructure. Like I said earlier, opportunity costs. We're spending so much time on the road when we're missing out with our families, getting second jobs, etc., and we can't afford to do that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lau, talk about what specific capital improvement projects you would propose if you become elected mayor. 60 seconds.
Yeah, you know, you look at the capital improvement, all the projects that's on the list, totaling about right now about $184 million. No ways you're going to fund all of that. So you're going to have to start choosing which ones, some of which the people have already spoken to. But what I'll do differently is sit down with each county council person and take a look as far as where these capital projects are in their district and get a feed from them to say, is this an important thing for improving the quality of life in your community? I recognize we have to do the wastewater and all of those good things, but you know, we gotta make sure we also touch all of our communities here, because here at Kealakehi it's very important for the wastewater, but in Honoka'a they might have another serious important thing that is very meaningful to them. So I will sit down with the county council and then together come up with what we think are those projects we want to take a look at.
Thank you very much. We're going to turn to just the economy in general at this point, and this 90-second question will go first to Ms. McCandless. Clearly, the economy is quite important, particularly to all small business people and large business people on the island. So we'd like to understand from all the candidates what are your key plans and priorities to help grow Hawaii Island's economy. And Ms. McCandless, your first 90 seconds, please.
Helping to grow Hawaii's economy starts first with working with other government agencies, non-government agencies, and the local communities. We need to help get our international airport back here in Kona. We need to help increase our tourism. Tourism is a big factor in so many people's livelihoods here, jobs. By increasing and getting our international status back here at the airport, what does it do? It creates construction jobs, it creates service jobs, it creates hotel industry jobs. It's good in that sector. Other things that we need to do as far as the economy, we need to increase public transportation. We need to be able to give our rural communities access. It gives us access to jobs, access to education. It helps our overall community when we're able to be mobile, get out, give our children and other family members opportunities. These are things that we need to be thinking about. And how do you move money? So for example, we have the ship that comes in here at Kona. We have the Keoho trolley that comes and takes people. But if there's no transportation, they're probably on foot. If they're on foot, unless they find something that they really like, they know they're gonna be price gouged. We need to increase our public transportation, give them options to get around our community so that they spend money and help our local economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, take 90 seconds and tell us what your key plans and priorities are to help grow Hawaii Island's economy.
I think the most important aspect of this is to recognize that we can feed ourselves if we have an expanded investment in our agricultural sector. It is absolutely incredible for me to believe that we have to import most of our goods here. We need to work with a partnership with Palama Nui and other educational institutions to make certain that we train our high school seniors as well as others in the community, not just for entry-level jobs, ladies and gentlemen, but for careers. And until we begin to do that, we're not really helping ourselves or those individuals as well. We need to also make certain that as we look forward into these areas, we do the things that the other candidates have been saying. But until we develop and grow our small business sector in this economy, I don't see how we can be successful in the long run. And the county simply isn't doing nearly enough in order to make those things be effective for all that are here in our economy. Further, we have to develop the public-private partnerships that are required to make certain that we provide a much broader scope in our affordable housing sector. The county has some good programs available at the moment, but those programs really don't build as many homes as we need to have in order to meet the growing needs of our community. We need to broaden that scope significantly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Kim, what are your key plans and priorities to help grow Hawaii Island's economy?
I think the role of government in regards to the economy is to be mainly to provide the infrastructures that business needs, as well as a tax system that doesn't punish them. I am very proud, and I will say it very openly, and I need you to look into it, and to hold me to it. I am very proud of the tax changes that were made during the 8 years in regards to reducing taxes. I'm very proud in regards to how we spent the money, and you will note in the last 2 years we put away in regards to savings through rainy day fund that we created, the emergency fund, as well as the GASB requirement as far as future liabilities was over $26 million that we did not spend of your money to make sure it is there when it is needed. In regards to the government of Hawaii, we will have to concentrate and focus on those things of infrastructure that business needs, a tax system that business needs to make sure we are attractive to them.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hapai.
Well, the good news is our economy is growing. And how do we know that? By unemployment being very low, in the 3%. Our visitor spending has increased, slight growth in the number of jobs. And I think the most important one from a personal point of view is that personal income has increased by about, or will increase by about 5%. So when you see a growing economy, your first thought is, let's spend. But I think the responsible thing to do here is, first of all, to pay down our bills. Some of them have, as mentioned earlier, the debt has increased, and to invest in needed infrastructure. But the other thing I'd like to mention, because I have a few seconds here, is to grow the economy, to use a different model. And that is, businesses have had a major problem. Hawaii is not known to be the state that welcomes businesses, because often it's really done backwards. The business comes, it's invested millions of dollars, and it says, here community, here I am. Well, I'd like to do it in the reverse. The community development plans say, this is what we want, this is what we need. Business, you are welcome, come and become a part of our community.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant.
One of the problems that anybody working in Hawaii faces is the low pay level per hour. That has to change. And if we don't change it, we're going to be losing out constantly. We'll always be tailing it. I don't know why Hawaii cannot take the lead. Hawaii Island cannot take the lead. Hawaii State, that's another problem. But Hawaii Island could take the lead and raise the minimum wage to or living wage, and thereby have a trickle-down effect on our local economy. It's not all going to go to Las Vegas. It's going to stay here and be reinvested and reused and useful to the county. I feel that the living wage is really one of the prime things that the county needs to be focused on and do. Not just talk about it, do it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Weiner, what are your key plans and priorities to help grow Hawaii Island's economy?
Mahalo. Thank you. Actually, the economy is one of my strengths. My platform is economy and ecology. And one of the most valuable things we have here in Hawaii is Hawaii. The name itself, the image it creates in people's minds. People want to come here. People want to come here and vacation. They want to spend time. They want to, more and more, the trend is they want to come here to get healthy. We have a reputation of having delicious and amazing food produced locally. I've been working with a number of farmers to take the average acreage cost, which is about $500 per acre, and reduce it down to about $10 per acre. This enables each and every person to use these ultra low cost methods and to turn their land into a productive resource for them. Whether it's growing food for themselves to cut their budget so they have more money to spend on other things, or it's just that it looks so much more beautiful here. When you come to Hawaii and our streets are lined with taro plants and popping off with bananas, and we live in this edible paradise, people will want to come here. And that's what I will focus on to grow our economy through ecology. Because when you focus on ecology, it's an investment not only today, it's an investment in the future.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lau, what are your key plans and priorities to grow Hawaii Island's economy?
You know, like people had said, the economy is moving in a positive direction. In 2008, the valuation of our property tax was $29.8 billion. At the lowest, the recession, it was $23.5 billion, and that was about 2013. 2016, it's risen to $26.8 billion. In 2017, it should reach about $28 billion. So it's on the rise. But what really concerns me is how do we sustain this economic growth? Because we know, like natural disasters, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we will get hit. The economy will start slowing down. It will take a dip. My thought is to how can we prevent or do as much as we can to minimize what we can control in this island, to minimize we getting hurt real hard economically, and how we can hunker down as an island community economically during a turn down in the economy. That's more my concern, is looking to the future. But we also need to support things like tourism, TMT, these big projects that are here for us. The opportunities is not only for jobs, but for education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lau. And Mr. Wah, what are your key plans and priorities to grow our economy?
I think we need to really focus on agriculture as a whole. We need to be self-sustainable. We don't need outside stuff. We can take care of ourselves. We also really need to start focusing on attracting tech sector types of companies to come in. Also, Mr. Lau addressed the TMT. I think that's a good thing, but there has to be a trade-off. If you're going to do something along those lines, you really need to offer free tuition to a lot of these children. I think one of the ways we can grow the economy is working in partnership with the state of Hawaii and try and get every child into the Hawaii Community College system statewide on a free tuition basis, especially if you pay taxes in this state. I think that's one way we can start to attract the best and the brightest and stop farming out our intellectual children. My children aren't coming home. They told me, I was just with my two children the last couple of weeks. They both graduated from colleges away. They're not coming home. There's nothing here for them. So we need to start attracting that. We need to start building our children from the high school level up. Trade sector kinds of educational things. So we keep our best and brightest here in our local economy. Generating property taxes, helping them to start small businesses and getting all of these things moving. Tourism is a big thing, sure, yeah. But we also need to start taking care of our own first.
Thank you very much. Some of the questions we have left include specific questions about homelessness, Kailua Village parking support, Honokaʻau Harbor, and a couple of big questions like climate change. Our next question is a 90-second question. It's going to go to Ms. Hapai first. It's not an easy question. It's about climate change. There is global scientific consensus that climate change is happening now. It creates environmental, social, and economic consequences for everyone. And of course, Hawaii is particularly vulnerable to rising sea levels and other consequences of global warming. If elected, how do you plan to have Hawai'i County better be prepared for climate change? Ms. Hapai, you have 90 seconds. Was my question not clear?
No, your question is clear. I'm just kind of thinking about it. I used to teach ecology, and one of my things I told my students was, you better buy an upper Kaumana because in time you'll have beachfront property. And of course that was a joke, but today we have to really take a look. And we know we need to be good stewards of our earth, of our Hawaii, of our environment. And I kind of look at global change and climate change as we're kind of like in a terrarium. Everybody can understand that, where we're enclosed. We're enclosed by an ozone layer that allows UV radiation not to pass in and not harm us. We are also affected by carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, that are greenhouse gases that actually hold in heat. They let the light in, but the heat doesn't get out. And so we have that problem of heat being retained. But also there's the other side, and that is the particulates from volcanic eruptions, from dust storms, actually can cause a refrigeration effect. So we need to work real closely with the scientists because it's all a balance. And so I guess that would be my recommendation. Keep close touch with our scientific community, do our parts as good stewards, and be able to adjust because it's important.
Thank you, Ms. Hapai. Mr. Lau, if you were elected, what do you plan to have Hawai'i County do to better prepare our island for climate change? 90 seconds.
I see climate change in three ways. The first one, because of the global warming and everything, is natural disasters with El Nino. And we saw that happen last year where we dodged many bullets, but we also got hit. As a result of what we saw with Ishel, and where communities was just locked out from the rest of the world, is really to work with community in developing, helping the community develop their disaster preparedness plan as a community. The second area that I will focus on is global warming, climate change is a planning issue. And so now we're going to have to take a look at our certified shoreline. What was a beach is now no longer a beach. Where you could have built, you no longer can build because everything's been pushed. The other side is public works. It's about roads. The example that maybe I like to use is Ali'i Drive. Maybe you won't see it in my lifetime, but maybe 7 generations from now, there will not be an Ali'i Drive. So the importance then of maybe looking at what we can do to build the Ali'i Parkway, because that might now become the road of the future because of the imbalance that is going on.
Thank you very much. Mr. Weiner, how would you like to see the county prepare for climate change if you're elected mayor, please? 90 seconds.
This is an absolutely great question and so vital to us right here. You don't have to look very far to see severe climate change. You can look at our ohia forests, and they're dying. But it's not just our ohia forests. Forests around the world are dying. And the reason they're dying is because the microorganisms, these tiny little creatures that keep the forest healthy and functioning, are dying right now. So here in Hawaii, we have a unique opportunity to change the entire world. We have a way through Korean natural farming to take microorganisms and to propagate them into trillions of good guys and to put them out into our forests. What do those little microorganisms do? They eat the toxins. They sequester carbon out of the air. They feed the forest so they come back to life. And they grow healthy food, and it helps your immune system. So climate change might seem like this big thing, but in actuality, it's very, very tiny. It's very small, and each one of us can take individual action to do it. Now, being mayor, I have access to all this spraying equipment to go and spray all this beneficial microorganisms, which are indigenous, cultured right here, into the forest to stop this problem today. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weiner. Mr. Hoffman, if elected, how do you plan to have Hawai'i County better prepare our island for climate change? 90 seconds.
In my administration, I would immediately form a planning group whose sole function is to try to examine where we're going with climate change and the impact that rising sea levels have on our economy. What are the questions that we need to ask ourselves now in 2017 so that we're prepared in 2030 and 2040 to handle these in an economic and efficient way? What are the effects on zoning, for instance, or when does the county stop zoning in areas we know are probably going to be inundated with ocean water because of this? What type of liability does the county have on existing homes in these areas? Or when does the county liability stop, when it becomes evident that this is really a significant feature which will affect public health and safety? And you know what, folks? The one thing about this particular problem is that we can start right now with a bunch of federal funds that are available. No one else, or very few communities, are looking at this. And those federal funds are available. We don't have to spend 1 cent of your dollars if we plan properly and we start that effort now. That's what I would do in my administration. And if you look at my website, you'll see that I've already developed that type of a argument and concept. And I think it's necessary to begin today, not even next month.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Wah, if you were elected, what do you plan to have Hawai'i County do to better prepare our island for climate change? 90 seconds.
Give everybody free sunscreen. It's getting hot. We need to start taking advantage of the solar energy that's provided to us. We need to also look at wind, right? We have some of the highest winds on the planet here. We also have the ocean. We need to have ocean-driven energy. We have geothermal. We have that. We got a lot of different resources happening for us. We just need to start taking the lead. Why can't Hawai'i County lead the world in self-sustainability in regards to energy? I don't know. It's probably because the shareholders of Helco don't want that. Anyway, we really need to start focusing on these things though, because it's available to us. It's not getting cooler. It's getting hotter. Inundation zones, yeah, zoning needs to be pushed back. We need to stop. We need to really focus on these things because it's not going to get better. It really isn't. So we need to also look at how we can take care of all of our garbage and all of these things because there's other ways than throwing it in the ground. There's other ways than throwing wastewater into the ground. We just got to start thinking outside of the box. We have the best and brightest people. We just need to utilize them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watt. Ms. McCandless, if you're elected mayor, what do you plan to have Hawai'i County do to better prepare our island for climate change? 90 seconds.
What we need to understand is climate change, we're not going to stop it. All we can do is slow it down. Hawaii has already, under Governor Ige, has already made a plan to be 100% renewable energy. First, we need to start addressing that. Currently, we are 40% renewable for our county. We need to continue to improve that. This is how we're gonna address some of the heating issues, our erosion of our coastlines. Up where I live up in Waimea, our ranching community, it's decreasing because there's a lack of water. We can't sustain the cattle head anymore. The soil can't retain the water because this is all effects of global warming. We need to be headed in the direction of being more reusable, of being conscious of the decisions that we're making on a daily basis, not just as a community, but as individuals. Making sure that we're actually being so efficient in our recycling process. For instance, our county buildings, we have recycling, helping our communities around us, not just Kealakekee High School, but even in the local communities, figuring out ways where we can have mass recycling, not just at the landfill, because once it gets to that point, it becomes a matter of convenience, and do we really do it? Is that really something that our communities are gonna buy into? These are all things that we need to be thinking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCandless. Mr. Kim, if you are elected mayor again, what do you plan to have Hawai'i County do to better prepare our island for climate change? Take 90 seconds, please.
Let me digress just a second here. During a very short break, I leaned over to Mr. Hoffman because he and I were in office at the same time for a couple of years. And my question to him was, what can I do to stop this nonsense information out there in regards to who built what road, how many employees we hired, who they were, et cetera, et cetera. His response to me is that you got to do a better job of telling people, and he's right, because during the term as mayor, I ordered people that your job is to do the job and don't worry about credit. People know who did the job, and I'm finding out I wasn't quite correct. In regards to the question, it's a very simple issue in regards to me. We have to let the world recognize that this hazard, consequent risk exists. That has been a problem for decades. I remember meeting with these Alaskan mayors and saying the frustration of the federal government not recognizing that that area was sinking until they showed pictures of time element. Our job here as county government leaders would be to work with people to truly understand what the hazards are. Consequently, you'll know what the risks are, and that to communicate with everyone all the mitigation things we can and must do to address that, outside of the prevention element of global warming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim. Mr. Bryant, if you're elected, what do you plan to have Hawai'i County do to better prepare our island for climate change?
Actually, former Mayor Kim hit the nail right on the head there. It's mitigation once you know what the real problems are. And until you know what the real problems are, you cannot be building roads or changing zones and this and that. Mitigation of what is possible is doable. But you have to know what's possible first by checking with the scientists and the like. The county is at risk in some ways, but the county does not own all the land. People own the land. They've bought it for their lifetime or whatever, and their investment is not guaranteed by the county. So I have to admit that although it's going to be a sad day at some time for some people, it's just part of the situation. Having had a house near Fukushima in Japan, I know all about losing property. So it's part of the gamble that you make when you live here. That's one of the reasons I bought in Hamakua and I didn't buy over in Puna. I wasn't too keen on having my house inundated by a lava flow. So, you know, you take your chances and you do what you do. But the county needs to do it on a basis of expert advice. Outside of expert advice, they shouldn't do anything.
Thank you. We're going to give you 90 seconds for this next question, and it's going to Mr. Lau first. And Ms. McCandless, you actually touched on this. The state has set a goal for electricity production to come from 100% renewable resources by 2045. And currently, according to Hawaiian Electric Company, around 50% of Hawaii Island's energy does come from renewable resources. But we know getting the rest of the way to 100% will be a far greater challenge. Hawai'i County itself is a very large consumer of electricity. What will you do as mayor relative to internal county usage to help move the island to 100%? Mr. Lau, take 90 seconds.
What I will do is to continue the current effort by taking a look at our facilities as we go and do major repairs on our facilities, making sure we're using energy efficient lights, for example, in our pools that have the pumps going, looking for energy efficient pumps, that will drive the heaters there. I think in relationship to automobiles, as we change the fleet, we'll go to electrical vehicles along that way. So again, is from the county point of view, it's always about internally what we can do first within our house, whether it's the automobiles, the lights, the energy efficient pumps, and so forth. Outside of the county, but yet that's still our kuleana, is taking a look at our street lights that we have here. We have about 10,000 street lights. We're currently retrofitting them with LED lights, and currently I think we're about 2/3 there. So I will continue that move to turn those lights into LED, and in a sense, not only taking care of Mother Earth because it's so much better, but it's also, again, not using the fossil fuel, but also that we'll be saving at least $1 million a year along the way. And certainly the water department is a big user. And so again, how we can use wind to pump.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lau. Ms. Hapai, what do you plan to do as mayor to help Hawai'i County become more renewable?
Okay. In the 70s, when we had the major crisis with gasoline and people had to sleep in the gas lines literally 2 in the morning to get gas in their cars, a lot of research was done in the state of Hawaii for alternative energy sources. And geothermal, they found about 20 different sites around this island. One of them in one area is actually in the Kona area and throughout some of the other parts of the island. So geothermal still has more potential, but of course it has to be done with care in places where we don't have people, so we don't have to address those other issues. One of the other things that we're working on now is wind. And I had the opportunity of being on a cruise ship and leaving Liverpool, England, and I actually videoed it. It's on my cell phone. Along the port, all these windmills, and I thought, wow, they always say windmills are ugly, so don't put them up. But you know, hey, our port in Hilo could use some windmills. But I mean, you know, there are other places where we can use these renewable energy sources. Also, solid waste. Many years ago, I took a class to the solid waste plant in Hilo, and there was a little methane flame. But at that time, there wasn't enough. So I think it's time we revisit some of these things that are available that we can use. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, if you are mayor, what will you do relative to internal county usage to help move the island to 100% renewable? 90 seconds.
I hope that everybody here looks at the League of Women Voters website. I spent quite a bit of time over the last 2 days talking about energy as one of the goals of my administration. I think that without delving into each of the opportunistic situations, wave electrical energy done by wave interaction, cold water electrical. We have these sites right here in Kona, actually, doing some of this today, and yet nobody seems to be doing anything with it except raising fish. Nice idea, but it's not exactly doing the energy thing. I feel that geothermal is really one of the things we should be doing, and I don't know when the county is going to pick up and send some people over to Iceland, but Iceland is completely run on geothermal energy. That is an island infrastructure. Everything in Iceland comes from geothermal. I don't know why we haven't gone there and looked at it and found out ways that we can utilize their technology here on our island. I would do that for sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Hoffman, you want me to repeat the question?
My wife and I just visited Iceland, and we looked at the geothermal plant. And of course, it works in Iceland. The difficulty here is when we put it in somebody's backyard, this is probably not a very good idea to proceed with. So let me go beyond geothermal, which I think is important. But I think what we need to do here from the county standpoint is look at alternative means of transportation. Go to my website, if you would, please. There's a whole series or ideas that our PATH organization has put out regarding alternative transportation. These are energy savers in each and every case. I think it would do well for the county to invest in some of these solutions. I also like the idea of expanding new technologies, and I'm willing to try new technologies as your mayor. Hydrogen buses, I think, have a future. I think it's worthwhile to examine in much more detail. We seem to be reluctant to do that. I don't know why. I like the idea of LED lights. They were begun under Harry's administration. I was on the council when I had to try to plead with my council colleagues to invest in this, at least for Waimea. They can work island-wide. Why has it taken so long to get more of this effort going on this island? We could have done that years ago. And finally, I suggest to you that the microgrid effort at Parker Ranch and Waimea is a good solution for community efforts as far as saving energy is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Now, Ms. McCandless, you actually brought this topic up. So, as mayor, what will you do relative to, first of all, internal county usage to help move our island to 100% renewable? Take 90 seconds.
As far as internal county usage, most of our buildings, we're headed in the right direction. We're becoming reusable, but we need more photovoltaic. We need more options on top of our buildings. As we address the maintenance issues on top of our buildings, Wally brought it up about our pools. How are they being heated? That's a big thing. Heating is such a big thing. If we're getting into photovoltaic, that's how we should be heating our pools. We should be using it naturally rather than spending the money on energy and not just putting in LED lights. So these are alternatives that we really need to be looking at collectively and as a whole. Also headed in the right direction is, yes, changing over our fleet. So there are some parts of our fleet that do require SUVs. There's others that don't. And in doing the transit, because I've used it myself, is the Chevy Volt. It is very cost effective, both in using the plug-in and the fact that it doesn't cost the county as much gas for us to have to use. It is definitely cost effective and an option for us to look at and quite affordable for the amount that we end up saving in the long run. But really what we need to be looking at is okay, we know about geothermal, we know about wind, we know about solar, hydropower and biofuels. We need to be looking at our STEM agencies like OTEC, NELHA, of what we're doing now to use it for the current and the long-term future of our island community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, talk about how you would proceed as mayor to help us become closer to 100% renewable.
First of all, in regards to electricity, fuel, the major uses of our oil is that of transportation and those of electricity. I think they basically could be one and the same because electric cars will be a major factor in reducing that usage. Heavy fuel use, oil use in regards to air transportation, unfortunately at this point of use technology, we're not near there, but in others, I think we are, especially on ground transportation. So I think it's very important for us as county to do everything we can to use electrical cars as much as we can. I think for the general public, I think we all need to concentrate also on the conservation of energy as best as we can, which is not obviously that simple. I need to say in regards to alternative energies, we have the blessing of suns year-round, so that's going to be a tremendous asset to the state and island of Hawaii. But two people here have mentioned geothermal. There's a feeling here that I'm against geothermal. You'll see in writing from the early 80s that I'm for geothermal, but it must be done very carefully and safely. But I will say this, please check with the head of the USGS, and he will tell you geothermal resource here is very limited in regards to how much we can use and how much we can depend on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim. Mr. Wah, how would you move our county towards 100% renewable? Starting internally first.
Well, I think they're making the moves already. LED lights are a real benefit to everybody. Low heat, so you use less energy already. I think we also need to reduce our paper consumption. Mr. Lau talked about LED street lights. Those are all great ideas. Mr. Hoffman talked about bus services with different alternative energies. I've seen all of this because the luxury of my work is I travel to almost every city in America. I've seen the different ideas. I think Hawai'i County needs to streamline all of the ideas and just be the leader. We just need to be the leader. I think we can do it, and I believe everybody has great ideas. But who's going to be the one person that's going to put all of these ideas into play? Without anybody bucking the system, I think we can do a lot of these things. One of the things I saw in Texas was dome-shaped buildings. They blow up an airform, they shoot foam in it, they rebar, and then they concrete the thing. And that thing is 20 degrees cooler on the inside than on the outside temperature. So they're running single split ductless systems in these buildings and maximizing efficiency. So not only in Texas, but in Arizona, Nevada, California, out in the desert regions, we need to start looking at all these buildings that are falling apart and start looking at different ways we can utilize this. Look at monolithicdome.com and you can see those buildings in action.
Thank you. Mr. Weiner, I believe you're up next to tell us about your plan for making us more renewable.
Mahalo. Again, this is another huge issue for us, renewable energy, having enough energy to meet our needs. And I see the county as setting the example, not just telling the people what needs to be done, but actually doing it ourselves internally. So one of the main ways to reduce energy have already been mentioned. One way that was not mentioned yet is that in every calorie of food, there's about 10 calories of energy spent to produce that food. And that's even more here in Hawaii as so much food is shipped in here from elsewhere around the world. And we love those things that come from outside, but here in Hawaii, we have a great opportunity to not only satisfy our food needs for security reasons, but also from the energy realm. That as we start to produce our own food here locally, and we empower young people to get back to the land, to earn a noble living, working right in the field and producing the things we use right here, we can hugely reduce that energy footprint that we right now export to the rest of the world. Other things in agricultural-wise, using the ultra-low-cost methods for producing biofuels is a huge thing that could definitely be explored and expanded upon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to the topic of homelessness, which is something that the county council offices tell us is one of their biggest complaints. And Mr. Lau is going to get this question first and have 90 seconds. The January homeless count showed about 1,300 homeless people on Hawaii Island, 300 more than in 2015, and experts believe the actual number is higher. What steps would you take as mayor to assist and manage the homeless population? 90 seconds, even though we know it's a much bigger question than that. Mr. Lau, 90 seconds, homelessness.
I think there's no silver bullet. There's no one way to handle the homeless population. The best we can do is look at ways to best manage the homeless situation. What I would do is continue to look for different housing options, from shelters to micro units to even places where those that choose to live in their cars, to have a place that they can safely park, have bathrooms. I would put more on affordable rentals along the way, so you have a gamut of affordable housing or opportunities. I would also take a look at having more friendly places where the homeless can gather and get wraparound services to meet their needs. But one of the things that I would really push is work with my fellow county mayors through HCOM and really lobby hard with the governor and the legislature. We appreciate the governor giving the extension of the emergency again for housing. But what we need to do better at is get funding, additional funding for mental health and substance abuse services that can go to the providers, because many of our homeless people have dual diagnosed. They do have the mental health, they do have the drug addiction issue there. So it's really working together, and the county would play a more aggressive, assertive role in being part of the whole effort to try to address and manage
Thank
homeless.
you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lau. Mr. Kim, what would you do to assist and manage the homeless population?
First of all, for us to recognize it is not an element of just the homeless. Figures were already given to you that near 50% of the people on this land of ours is struggling day to day just to survive. We'll refer to them at risk, those who are at risk of becoming homeless, and those that are hidden, and hidden are those that families, 2 or 3 or multiple people live together to make it. Just think about that. The statistics show near 50% of the people of this land live under those day-to-day conditions. Unless we begin to address the whole scope of what is happening, the homeless will always continue to grow. And this is what we're talking about in regards to the whole economy has to be reviewed. This problem has to be brought forward to the entire community. This is not a homeless problem. This is our community problem. In regards to what we have done, I'm very proud of those things that is up there in regards to the friendly place to be developed here in Kona. That was paid for by our friend Stanford Carr, who volunteered to pay for it 100% because we didn't have any money. In regards to the emergency housing for homeless and in regards to the colloquial housing. That was all started during our administration. I need you to know that this problem is going to grow unless we as a community know the entirety of the problem and sit down and start to identify solutions to it.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, I know this is a hot button of yours as well.
I like hearing how the past history comes forward again, and some of the efforts that have been done by the county is interesting. When I was still on the council, there were county officials who were still denying that homelessness was a problem, particularly here in Kona. I just want you to know that. There's a number of different things we can do, and Mr. Lau and Mr. Kim have expressed those things, I think, very clearly. The idea of being aggressive, though, I don't see in the current administration. I'm sorry. It's not so much a criticism, but the idea that it took 2 years with this CHIRP effort in order to put together an effort by the county council to have 33 shelter beds, I think is inadequate. I like the idea of my friend Mr. Cliff Kopp, who I know is seated in the back of the room, who's indicated a much broader scope in how we're to handle homelessness. And I certainly subscribe to that effort. It's on my website if you want to look at it and get some details. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand it is, as Mr. Kim has pointed out, it is a community problem. And until we begin to address the fact that we have too many people living in poverty on this island, I don't care how many potholes we fill, and I don't care how many parks and recreation facilities we build. We need to change direction in this next administration. And we need to address these issues now. There's absolutely no reason to wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Ms. Hapai, your solution to homelessness or your approach?
I like that solution. Okay. Well, my approach is, first of all, homelessness is a problem all over this island, especially in Pahoa, Hilo, Kona. You know, I've gotten feedback on that. And, you know, there are some solutions that are already being recommended. On my Facebook page, we're talking about buses, little houses that are in Puna that have been put there for that purpose, and of course, community facilities. I think one thing that's important is I don't see the county being the primary provider of these services, and I'll tell you why. When we look at our property taxes and what they're used for health and safety services, for social services, for economic development. And I think in order not to be increasing taxes, we have to think of alternatives. And I really see the nonprofit sector as being a major player in some of these social services. They can help. And for those of you who want to help them, you know, that's something to contribute to. And I really think we need to work more as partners, the county, the private, and the nonprofits to solve some of our social problems.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hapai. Ms. McCandless, what would your approach be to helping with the homeless issue?
Thank you, Sherry. So homelessness is everywhere. We see it right here in Kona. You go down to Ore's, you see them on the side of the road, they're asking us for money. but deeper than that. It's not just the 1,300 that we see or the figures that we see as numbers that are homelessness. And it's not just the 50% who are at risk that it's homelessness. We are gonna have a local growth of 29% population by 2025 as projected by the Office of DBED. Here on this island, just this island alone, it's affordable housing. If these 50% of the families can't afford to live here, and we have an influx of population coming in, this 50% is gonna grow. They're gonna end up either homeless, but what happens with homelessness? It's so much more. Are they actually getting the services? Are they having jobs? Do they have jobs? And the worst, we're having kids. They're having kids. Are the kids going to school? Are they getting educated? There's so many multiple facets that get involved in homelessness that there's no special answer for it. We need to give our communities options, whether it's increasing by having more shelters via containers, via tent options. We need to be thinking about these things now. The population for homelessness is going to continue to grow.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McCandless. Mr. Weiner, what would your approach be towards helping with the homeless situation? 90 seconds.
Mahalo for this question. I would like to first say that not everybody is homeless. Some people choose to be homeless, and not everyone's in that situation. So to think that we're 100% going to ever cure this is, some people just don't fit into the society of the way that generally we live in homes. I know very many Native people that like to just walk around and be wanderers and feel a very connection to the land, that instead of having a home, they actually live on this whole island and consider it their place. So I'd like to just mention that and keep those people in mind. But the other bigger problem, I believe, is poverty. And I myself, at one point, was on the verge of being homeless, where, you know, my ohana was not functioning the way it should, and I had no other option but to go out and live on the street until finally I was taken in by some really nice farmers who gave me a nice place to stay. And by exchanging my work in terms of to get housing, I was able to lift myself out of that situation. I was able to get a foothold. And I believe the way to ultimately cure this situation for the people who don't want to be there is to make it easier to lift yourself out, to restore that ohana, and to bring that back. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weiner. Mr. Wah, how would you approach this issue? 90 seconds.
As the president of my own faith-based organization, I can tell you this, it's a real problem. The children are the ones that suffer the most. If you take a look, there's kids in Hilo living in cars, living in the bushes by the old airport. These things are real. The only way we're going to do this is if we can somehow reduce property taxes almost down to zero for anybody who would rent under the Section 8 program to a family now, that would have children in the house, because there's annual inspections on the property and stuff like this. So you just need to get children in homes. This is getting really serious. The other thing is you also have to have designated areas for the homeless to sleep at night. Instead of sleeping in alcoves and different places in front of businesses and defecating and urinating in the front stoops of a business, they need to be, maybe we're locking all of the county parks. How about we designate certain areas where they can stay? With the idea that the social service agencies and the faith-based organizations can find them. Because a lot of them, like Eric was saying, they're hiding out. They're basically in the bush, in the brush. Puna, you say 1,300, I think there's 1,300 just in Puna. Serious, I'm not even playing around. We just need to get these people designated areas where we can reach them with the services that they really need.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watt. Mr. Bryant, how would you approach this problem? 90 seconds, please.
I think it's a combination of two things. Again, it's poverty and the pay per hour situation, and it's mental health. Those two aspects are the prime instigators of homelessness. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I work with SDTA, which is dealing with mental health.
SDTA?
Self-discovery through art, unfortunately. It doesn't have a great name, but What we're trying to do is realize people that the qualities that they have inside are qualities that can reintegrate them into society and make them functional people again. It is working, but it's a startup at the moment. The problem of bringing people, giving people work, really comes down to how much you're going to pay them per hour. We can't be woofers, and woofers are these guys that walk around and go to farms from here and there. You can meet them. They're from Oregon. They're from Missoula, Montana. They're from everywhere. And they're here in Hawaii having a great time because they're working for free on a farm and they're eating every day. And then all of a sudden they're gone. That's not what the homeless that we're dealing with, and the woofer situation exacerbates that whole problem, because those jobs are jobs that perhaps the homeless would be perfectly suited for, frankly.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. We're going to go to a question having to do with serving the whole county, and this is a 60-second question. It's going to go to you, Mr. Kim, first. 8 years ago, there were loud outcries to split the county in two because many in West Hawaii felt West Hawaii was not getting a fair share of projects nor attention. Under the current administration, directors from West Hawaii have been appointed. The mayor and all directors have office hours at West Hawaii Civic Center, and road and park projects have been completed in every district, including West Hawaii. What is your plan to equitably serve West Hawaii? 60 seconds, please, Mr. Kim.
I'm really getting a little frustrated in regards to the question and insinuation. I will take this opportunity to ask each and every one of you, there's only one important thing here. It's not of which candidate, but of truth. And this is all I'm asking you. Of truth to find out about the projects, who started it, when it was started, how it was started. I ask you to find out in regards to truth in regards to taxes. You know, who dropped the taxes and who raised the taxes. And take a look at the stats in regards to who got employed and where they got employed. In regards to and I'm afraid my frustration is showing. I'll get to the question in regards to serving the whole island. It is the mayor's job to serve the whole island. Priorities has to be established on need. So the key issue here is in regards to identifying the high priorities for the whole island, and within the limited resources, to spend your limited resources to those high priority areas.
Thank you, Mr. Kim, but I will give you a 30-second follow-up. If you are elected mayor, would you have regular office hours at West Hawaii Civic Center? If so, when, and what would you expect of your cabinet? 30 seconds only, please.
I expect my cabinet to serve the whole island regardless. It's not a matter of where you station your people. It's a matter of providing the services. In regards to putting certain people on management here or there, whether it be on East Hawaii, or West Hawaii, or North or South Hawaii, that is a management technique of what your choice is. And the present administration made their choice based on fits their best management style. Whether I will do that or not, I do not know. I will tell you this, take a look at our record, and I'm proud of how we serve the whole island.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Ms. McCandless, to address the issue which no longer exists of people wanting to split the county in two, talk about how you would equitably serve the entire island, including West Hawaii. 60 seconds, please.
The idea of spreading the island into two parts has started long ago. This is back from days of old Hawaii. This was the Keawe's in the west and the E's in Hilo. And they've been at it for years. So this issue and this topic that we're bringing up, thank you, Sherry. Really what it is making sure that, like Harry said, we're addressing projects that the whole island needs, but not just that. What are the main issues across the island? It's infrastructure. Are we growing at a rate that's appropriate? No. Do we have the infrastructure right now to sustain us? Not just now, but in the long term. And I'm not just talking about roads. I'm talking about sewage. I'm talking about transportation. These are all island-wide things that can be addressed. It's no one in particular place that's going to benefit more than the other. But this is how we're going to help our overall economy. We're going to help our rural communities, like I said earlier, get access, have access to education, to jobs.
Thank you. But let me give you the same 30-second follow-up. Would you have regularly, you as mayor, have regularly scheduled office hours at West Hawaii Civic Center? If so, when, and what would you expect of your directors? 30 seconds.
So yes, I would have regular hours here at West Hawaii. I already have to do this in my current job where I travel to almost every single location once a week. So that I already split myself between Waimea, Hilo, and Pahoa. So I have to travel. I would be here at least once a week, if not more, available to the public 7:45 to 4:30 like my normal working hours. And I'd expect the same of my cabinet as well.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lau, what is your plan to equitably serve West Hawaii? 60 seconds, please.
Well, first of all, we're one island and we're one family. And so in order to do that, again, for me, I will split my time between Hilo and Kona. I'll probably be here 2 times a week, Hilo 3 times a week. I will continue to balance my administration by having cabinet members that is representative of our island community. And like always, I will expect them to spend time here in West Hawaii. It's all for having access to the department heads and their staff by the community. It's all about fairness. Be just fair along the way. It's also about not only the community coming to the county buildings, but is myself and the cabinet members going out into the community and doing community outreach so we can better understand what the needs are.
Thank you very much. And you already answered the question, so I'm not going to give you the 30-second follow-up. And I'm going to go to Mr. Weinert. What would your plan be to equitably, oh, you want the 30, were you going to change your mind? You're going to say a different answer? No, you cannot. Mr. Weiner, what is your plan to equitably serve the entire island, including West Hawaii? 60 seconds on that one, please.
I really appreciate this question because having unity around the island is very important. It is one county, it is the whole island. I'm born and raised in Puna. I grew up there my whole life. Went to Hilo High School. I now reside in Onamea Bay, which is just north of Hilo. Teach at Kalana Anaole School. And when I mentioned earlier that I lifted myself out of homelessness, I moved up to Kohala for some time. So I know those parts of the island really well. The part of the island that I need to build my strength in is in Kona. So if elected mayor, I think I'll move to Kona so that I feel, you know, that connection here, so I can really get down. Because I know the past administration was lived in Hilo and was Hilo-based. It's time for Kona. Mahalo.
Thank you, and let me give you the 30-second follow-up. If you become mayor, would you have regular office hours at West Hawaii Civic Center and at the Hilo County building? If so, when, and what would you expect of your directors?
Yes, I believe regular office hours are important. I think figuring out how to divide that time makes sense. And since I'm going to live in Kona, I'll figure maybe 2 days in Hilo.
Thank you very much. 60 seconds, Mr. Wah, on what your plan is to equitably serve West Hawaii.
I think as the mayor or any administrator, and this is one of the things that I threw out on the Facebook, was people that pay taxes need to have accessibility within 48 hours. If you have an issue, you need to be face-to-face with somebody in your community immediately. You don't want to have to wait and try and circumvent the whole thing or try and go through the whole bureaucratic process. I think regular office hours, that's a no-brainer, right? We should all be working. If anything, you guys pay almost 80% of the property tax. You should have accessibility at least 80% of the time from your county administrators, including the mayor, because you guys are footing the bill for the entire thing. Yes, it's one island. Yes, it's one ohana. Yes, but we all need to understand that whoever pays the bills is the one that gets the attention.
Thank you. So 30 seconds, would you have regularly scheduled office hours in West Hawaii?
I would be, yes. The basic answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Bryant, what is your plan to equitably serve the whole island, including West Hawaii? 60 seconds.
It's the problem of one person trying to be everywhere at the same time. Actually, one of the things that I thought about when I started to think about running for mayor was the fact that, or the possibility that we could have two, for want of a better word, vice mayors, if you would have them, one in Hilo and one in Kona. permanently scheduled or slated there, office hours there, that person would be the intake person. The mayor cannot be everywhere, cannot be the all answer. You end up being everywhere and nowhere because you can't get all the information you need. But if you have two people that you trust, not possibly trust, but totally trust, to be the intake people, then they're adjutants to you and are the best answers to my end.
And 30 seconds, would you have, as mayor, regularly scheduled office hours
I think that goes
West
without
Hawaii Civic
saying
Center?
that though somebody was scheduled to be at Hilo and at Kona in my stead, I would also be there on a regular basis with regular hours for sure.
And how about your directors? What would you expect of them?
The directors should be in and out as needed, and I think as needed is one of those really flexible terms because there's a lot more need at certain times. They better get their act together and be there, otherwise find a new job.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, what is your plan to equitably serve the island, including West Hawaii? 60 seconds, please.
Well, I think that the current administration, what Mr. Kanoe has been doing, I think is really fairly effective. I think that that's a reasonable effort on his part to provide the type of presence of the county officials on both sides of the island. I'd continue that. I'd probably do a couple things a little bit different in spending my time. I think the important thing is to remember that the reason this exists is because there's a perception problem, particularly on the west side, that everybody spends their time over there. As mayor, under any circumstances, I have to try to defeat or aggressively attack that perception. And I'll do what's ever necessary in order to eliminate it in your mind that we're not being fair with the time and with the efforts that we spend from our administration. That's really the question. And I'm happy to continue and have regular hours. You don't have to ask me the extra 30 seconds, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sapai, understanding that 8 years ago there were a lot of outcries to split the county in two, what would you do to ensure that you are equitably serving the whole island, including West Hawaii? 60 seconds, please.
Okay. Well, for one thing, I'd like to see a real collaborative model for the whole county, because I've been in situations where, people have wanted 50-50, and I said, if the need is 45-55, that's what we should do. So I hate for us to be keeping score. I would want there to be a feeling that we are being served all over the island, not just east and west, but north and south. And one of the things I think we can use better, we've invested so much in technology. And I've been able to use it throughout my career so that we've had 4 screens split and 4 different people from all over the world. And so why can't we do that better right in our county? We do have county council meetings and people can attend that way, but we can save a lot of money on travel also if we use our technology better.
Thank you. And would you have regular office hours at West Hawaii Civic Center? And what would you expect of your directors? 30 seconds only.
Okay. Well, definitely, even if you use technology, you have to have the personal contact, so we do need regular hours. And I would expect to have department heads here on a regular basis as well, so that this side of the island feels represented just like the other side, and as I mentioned, north and south.
Thank you very much. We are going to go to a question about Honokaha Harbor, and we're going to go to Mr. Hoffman first for this 90-second question. State Department of Land and Natural Resources previously asked if the county would consider taking over management of boating facilities on our island. If you are elected mayor, would you be willing to have the county participate in management of Honokaha Harbor? And if so, if yes, please elaborate on what you think this local management might look like. 90 seconds, please, Mr. Hoffman.
I wonder if Rick Gaffney left the room already. Oh, no, I still see him in the back. There's a difficulty, I think, with the county taking over any state facilities. There have been 1 or 2 in which we've had some advantage. But until and unless the state provides the necessary upgrade and renovations that are required, or at least provide the bills or the money and the resources before we take over a particular facility, then I'm opposed to that. I don't want to place that effort or that burden on the taxpayers of this county. I do believe that there are some benefits to be obtained by the county to do this. There's a number of things the county can do with the harbor that I think we could do much better. I like the idea of local management and local control. But I don't want to take over a facility that burdens us to the extent that it would take years in order to show reasonable profit or even a break-even point, regardless of where we stand with the facility itself. Clearly, the mayors, in my administration anyway, I would work with the state and with DLNR to make certain that we adjust the facility effort and the management capabilities that clearly are lacking in Honokahau Harbor. And I would do whatever is necessary to work with the state in order to make sure that that happens. But I want to make sure that we don't step into a thing in which
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, you know it's coming, so I have to cut you off. Mr. Weiner, would you as mayor be willing to take over participation of management in Honokahau Harbor? And if so, what do you see it looking like? 90 seconds, please.
Thank you for this question. Honokahau Harbor, I used to know, I went to school with Malia Espen, and her dad was the harbor master at Honokahau. And so I have sort of a personal connection to that. I've caught many fish there, gone out and got onos. And I also know some frustration from some people here who have their boat in that harbor. And so I know it's a big issue. I think you have to be very careful when you take on things as it is already state managed to bring that into the county. Again, we talked about raising costs. And we as the people really have to be sure this is something we want to manage out of our county budget. And so if we are sure and we really do want to do it, raise your hand real high. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weiner. Mr. Waugh, if you're elected mayor, would you be willing to have the county participate in management of the Honokahau Harbor? And what do you see it looking like? 90 seconds.
I think any time the state is willing to give up something, we should capitalize and take it from them. Yeah, make them pay for the initial improvements and then take over management of it and then run it the way we see. You know, you find frustrating bureaucrats in Honolulu all the time. They want to tell the outer islands how to do things, how to run things, and then they take all the tax money or the fees and they funnel it into the general fund, and we get nothing for that. Another thing is also if you're looking at Mauna Kea, right in the middle, right? All of these hunters, they're going to eradicate all of these animals, and we get nothing out of that. You know, the people don't get the food. We get eliminated from even encroaching on the property. So we need to, every time they want to give us something, we should take it. And we should really take it and push them way out. Yeah, because, you know, another thing we need to really focus in on is the county needs to buy Waipio Valley and hold that near and dear to our hearts. That's a lot of history and a lot of family in that area. We need to protect those resources. And also, we should pitch that the state gives us Ali Drive, that harbor, that pier. They should give us Banyan Drive, give us everything back, and stay in Honolulu.
Thank you, Mr. Waugh. Mr. Bryant, if you're elected mayor, would you be willing to have the county participate in managing Honokahau Harbor? And if so, what do you see that looking like? 90 seconds.
Everybody's already hit most of the points that, frankly, if the state fixes it and makes it right, then we should take it and we should run it as the county is wont to do. But that's not the way the state does things. So good luck on that one. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Ms. Hapai, if you become mayor, would you be willing to have the county participate in managing Honokahau Harbor? And if so, what do you see that looking like?
I think it would be a good idea to share the financial responsibility, the state and the county. But what I understand from reading the papers about this whole situation is that the community would like to participate as well. So one of the things I've been actively involved in for the last 3.5 years is connectivity and emergency response in the Puna area. And what has happened is the county has our Puna Community Development Plan Action Committee. This action committee now has a subcommittee on connectivity and emergency response. And what I see is this has some potential because the subcommittee and the action committee are all volunteers. And we have lots of volunteers that would love to help. And many of them are very knowledgeable and have a lot to offer. So what I'm saying is maybe we can come up with some type of community help model, looking at action committees, subcommittees, and this might be a way that the people in Kona can participate in the Honomakau harbor use, maintenance, and have it for everyone to use. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hapai. Mr. Lau, if you are elected mayor, would you be willing to have the county participate in management of Honokaha Harbor? And if so, what would it look like?
Yeah, I think for me, for the county to assume complete control of Honokaha Harbor, I would have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns that was brought up here. But I will seriously consider a public-private partnership. I feel that the opportunities of that Honokaha Harbor is great. The recreational opportunities and the economic opportunities is so great. Not only if you just fix it up now, but if you fix it up to a point where it can attract the Rolls Royces of the fishing fleet from Cabo San Lucas to come here, it will stir the economic. It will bring the fishing fleets in. It will bring the jobs in over here. So I see tremendous opportunity in a public-private partnership. The challenge there, though, we will have to talk to the unions because we have the Kono ruling that kind of has to be discussed along with the unions if this public-private partnership goes along the way. I'm a user of the Honokohau. I fish there. I have my boat there. So I understand the need to repair. But we have to make very clear that what it all entails. And I wouldn't want to soak in a whole bunch of county monies that should go to other more important places maybe. So bringing in the private entity that has that kind of expertise and partner with the county and run a first-class operation.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Ms. McCandless, as mayor, would you be willing to take over or have the county participate in Honokaha Harbor management? If so, what do you see that looking like? 90 seconds.
With Honokaha, there's several things that we need to be looking at. So like most of my fellow counterparts here have mentioned, we are looking at costs. What is it going to cost us to fix it? Yes, I'm for it if the state is going to help participate in that process. But for me, I'm looking even further than that. The long-term maintenance once we get it fixed. How are we going to maintain it? It's going to come out of our pocket unless we come up with a plan. My thing is, if we take it over, we're going to talk about the TAT, Transient Accommodation Tax. Right now, the county receives $19 million. There's $33 million that's going to Honolulu. If this is something that we're going to be taking on for our community and having it a community base, we're going to be talking about getting long-term funding that's going to be sustainable so that we can continue to maintain it, keep it growing, and help it be a viable part of our economy. Other things, public-private partnership, it's imperative. The reason of why we're even talking about privatization is because the local fishermen, the local business is crying for it. They're tired. They're tired of dealing with what we're dealing with. Busted old pipes, lack of washout stations, no areas to pump. How do we create an economy down at Honokohau that can help keep it sustainable, that'll help it growing? I'd like to see it for us, if we're going to take it over as a county, to open up a fish auction block and find ways to generate revenue that way if we take it over.
Thank you, Ms. McCandless.
Thank you.
Mr. Kim, talk about your willingness as mayor to have the county participate in management of Honokaha Harbor and what you see that looking like if you are. 90 seconds, please.
I think all of us here would be more than willing to participate in a management, but I think everyone has indicated we are responsible for the finances of the County of Hawai, and we definitely cannot make any kind of agreement in regards to get us deeper into fiscal responsibilities, so that has to be ironed out. As far as management of that place, if it was one or the other, there's no doubt in my mind, absolutely no doubt in my mind, that the county government would do better. And the whole reason for it is the people that it serves, the facility serves, are right here and those are the people you're going to have to work with. I do believe that in the long run, the immediate run is to work with the state to see how we can resolve this problem of this harbor. This is a major problem. It's going to be a bigger problem. And I feel that partnership to begin with just the management of it, to look at what alternatives are possible. And I think a private partnership in this case would be a good answer to make this harbor keep up. This is the only safe harbor in West Hawaii. And we have got to make sure we make it better because the needs are going to grow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kim. This is a 30-second question only. It is about Kailua Village parking. Mr. Wah, you're getting this first. Many merchants in Kailua Village say their business suffers because of a lack of parking for customers. And the current 2 major county lots often have overnight or nearly permanent parkers from nearby hotels or condos or the farmers market. And this is not a new issue. It's been going on for more than 20 years. The merchants want to know what you plan to do to support their small businesses by making parking more available. 30 seconds only.
Well, the obvious answer is public-private management of a parking area. With security, I think it makes more sense for someone. Honolulu is filled with paid parking lots. Why do you guys have that issue? I think you just need to have somebody come in and manage that area. Now, I don't live here, so I don't share in your grief, but I think there is an answer to everything, and I think that might be it, getting somebody to manage the parking.
Mr. Bryant, 30 seconds. How would you support the merchants relative to parking?
Parking was always a problem at my gallery up in Kauai High even because it was access in and out. And then they were going to bring the ferry boat across the street, and then it was just going to be monster problems. So parking is essential to small businesses. And if we have a county parking lot that is ill-used and ill-run, just like Mr. Wah says, bring somebody in that knows how to run it and run it right. It's not for the condos and it's not for overnighters. It's for the community and for the businesses that are paying rent.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, 30 seconds. Parking in Kailua Village.
Parking in Kailua Village is going to grow because it's going to be obviously the center of West Hawaii shopping, not only for just West Hawaii. As you know, a lot of the people from the entire island come to this sector of the island to go shopping. This is something that has to be addressed. You guys to seek out all alternatives, including identifying land could be parking, but as well as the mentioning of a private partnership.
Thank you. Ms. McCandless, parking in Kailua Village, 30 seconds.
So in addition to public and private management, we also need to get into investing in public transportation, increasing more public transportation in these areas. Also, I know that the Kona Kailua Village has been talking about creating more parking down at the Nani Kailua, exploring that as more of an option and giving ourselves as a whole community more options and to also better serve our local businesses, our small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weiner.
Thank you. So the parking issue, I've parked there before, and sometimes it is hard to get a space. So I know how it is. I believe that there could be some enforcement there that could really make it efficient, and perhaps the people that are abusing it then could generate some revenue for the people enforcing it. And then as Shannon mentioned, I believe that building our infrastructure in the future to focus on things that are alternative to cars makes sense.
Thank you. Mr. Lau, parking.
Could never get away from that one. Not even my other job. So I guess basically, yes, I would look for a public-private partnership to better manage the county parking there so we can better regulate it. But for me, the bigger issue is parking in Kailua Village and the surrounding areas. Because if we manage that facilities or that parking lot, you're gonna have people going all over the place to look for other free parking. So you're just moving the cars from one area to the other.
Thank you. Ms. Hapai, parking solution.
Okay. Yeah, I think we have to look at a number of viable alternatives. I still see some kiawe trees in Kona, so there are places that maybe we could put in some parking lots. Also, trolleys, shuttles. Maybe it's time for Kona's hoppa on, hoppa off, so that we can bring people from the hotels and, they just kind of get on and off and they don't need parking. So we need to look for alternatives.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman.
I think it's time to consider walking malls and shuttles. I think it's time to look at parking space up near the international market or up in the area near Target and other areas there. And the county could assist by providing shuttle service from those areas down to the walking malls within the Kona Village. I think it's what I would do is to work some type of an effort with the Kailua Kona Business Improvement District and get them involved in trying to work a partnership to ensure that this happens.
Thank you. Just a quick question. The merchants had a suggestion, which is parking meters. How many of you, raise hands, would support parking meters in the current county free lots? 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, let's get either hands up or hands down, please. Okay, how many would not support parking meters in the lots? Marlene, you voted neither way.
Well, yeah, because Hilo took them away.
Okay. It's time for closing statements from our candidates. Each candidate gets 1 minute, 60 seconds to make a closing statement. Use the time or don't. Mr. Bryant, 60 seconds. Your closing statement.
Well, I appreciate the chance to come here tonight. I really feel that the county offers a lot of examples of misuse over the past 20 some odd years that I've been here. And we need to focus on things like, what about the gray market theft of agricultural goods? This is an amazing problem for our ag people. Their goods are being stolen and sold in our local markets without any recompense whatsoever, and the police do nothing. I know that for a fact. There's so many minor problems that build up to be another mountain as big as Mauna Kea. So we need to get on top of things. Like I say, there are a million problems. Check my list.
Thank you. Ms. Hapai, closing statement, 60 seconds.
Okay. I would like to emphasize the need to work collaboratively throughout the island, but also at the different levels of government. I think collaboration instead of competition, looking at our needs and our resources and getting them from a team approach, because often, we might say, oh, we're not getting our share at the county level, but then we have people at the state level that are working for us as well as the federal level. So as a team, determine our needs and work together to get them met. Also, once again, I'd like to stress the importance of public-private nonprofit partnerships and how these can provide new resources, and the importance of communities welcoming small businesses that they want and need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman.
Yes, thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to be here this evening. I'd just like to repeat that unless and until we begin to address the issue of poverty on this island, we've done nothing to assist our economy or the people who are most in need. I suggest to you that improving substantially our investment in agriculture and in affordable housing are two of the most important components of that effort. I understand very well the politics of filling potholes and building parks and rec facility, but I'm also interested in making sure that we fill stomachs, particularly of our school children, and that we build sufficient housing in order to take care of the people who live and work here on a regular basis. As your mayor, I promise that I will attend to these issues, and I'll do it with unquestioned integrity, making certain that we have open government at every aspect that we do. Ladies and gentlemen, your responsibility, please, is to make sure that you vote in this primary election. And I ask that you take that responsibility seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Kim.
I need all of you to base your opinion, your votes rather, on truth. I ask all of you here that in the back there's a brochure. I'm a one-man operation, so it's rather a simple handout of one page. Find out truth in regards to your taxes. I am very proud. I think you will be not proud, but satisfied in what we did in lowering your taxes. I'm very proud in regards to the budget, how much we save and not spending it. I'm very, very proud of the infrastructure development, including the community center, including your roads. We had 40 projects of highways going on at one time. And you need to understand how irritating it gets to hear people say you did nothing for 8 years. And you will find out, and I'll see something very blatant here that I need you to find out of truth. I'm willing to bet that we initiated more projects in Kona, the West side, than the previous mayor before me and the mayor after me. Find out truth, and if I'm wrong, please say so.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Lau.
Thank you very, very much. You know, as your mayor, my top 3 projects will be tackling the homeless crisis that is happening island-wide, the repairs and maintenance of county roads, facilities, and parks, and the continued improvement of the building permit process. As your mayor, I promise you that I'll always listen, always seeking to be fair, and always ask the question, is it in the best interest of the people? Is it good for the community? Come the first Monday in December at 12:01, and you use the analogy of a canoe, there will be a new steersman. Mayor Kinoy is going to leave. The new steersman is going to come on board. If you're looking for somebody that is action-oriented, a good listener, dedicated, and caring of his crew, then I hope you will consider voting for Wally Lau.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Ms. McCandless.
Aloha, thank you for this opportunity tonight. As your Hawai'i County Mayor, we are coming into a new era. We see all the candidates here, some who've worked previously in other administrations and other former mayors. And it's obvious. It's obvious the choice that you're looking at. I've worked for the county. I've come from the community, and I continue to be a part of this community, working constantly, day by day, side by side to serve the public. That is my job. That's my job now and will forever be, a civil servant to serve our communities. The long term of what the mayor should be looking at is keeping our communities intact, looking at the unique community that we exist here on Hawaii Island, why it's so special, and how we're going to keep it that way. It's going to be on sustainability, affordability, and long-term prosperity for our local community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCandless. Mr. Wah.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming out, because you had a lot of other things that you could be doing tonight, for real. For me, it's just, I'm just glad you came to hear the viewpoints of everybody. When you make your choice, don't vote popularity, vote action. I have opportunity every place I go in America to move there, to live there, but I choose to live here like you. So I know that one thing is for sure, that we all just need to make this place better. And as we work towards better, we'll make it best. This should be the best place on the planet to live. I can tell you right now, I go everywhere, and I can tell you, every time I get on that plane, I want to come right back home. This is home, and this is your home. Let's make it the best home we can for the future, not just for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weiner.
Mahalo. Thanks everybody for listening to me speak from my heart to show you what I'm made of. To be here in your presence, it's really an honor. And I'll leave it at that. I know your butts are flat. Mahalo.
I'd like to thank our sponsors, Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce, Community Enterprises, Plus Naleo TV, Grace Velez for sound, Hawaii 24/7 for live streaming and posting, Big Island Video News for posting this, Marion and Karen Stanton for the decorations, and of course, Mr. Alan Vogt of Kealakahe High School, and especially our timers, Georgine Bush and Susan Maddox. Great job. I'm Sherry Bracken. Thanks to all of you for being here. Aloha.